Hi, thanks for tuning in. Um, I really do appreciate each and every one of you who watches my channel and watches these videos. I'm going to talk about why I recently privatized all my videos on this channel. They're not deleted. They still exist, but I've been trying to get a better job, and somebody at my current job recommended that I privatize because I was going, I was applying for work at a pretty good company here locally, and he recommended that because, from what he heard, they check social media, that it would be a good idea to hide my presence on social media, and that's something that I I struggle with. I was about to say fight. I struggle with because I'm a very open person, and this channel is a form of expression, of personal expression. So, and not only personal expression, but progress. So, I like to think that I'm talking directly to you, whoever you are, and that's why I moved the preview screen over to the side of the computer because the computer screen, because I don't like to look at myself, and I think that's throwing me off. I hope that as I make these videos with this new way of doing it, I don't feel distracted, or I don't come across as distracted. Still, it's hard to talk. All right, fine. I wanted to talk about um, why I created this channel, and then I have some other topics to talk about. I created this channel first off, I think because, well, I'd been a long-term YouTube viewer. I enjoy YouTube a lot, and I created this channel, as I recall, after, excuse me, after somebody, uh, uh, somebody I've known for quite, well, we spent a childhood together, and we were in the same class. This person said that I had a lot of thoughts to share with the world, and said in so many words, it's tragic. I mean, my words, but I mean to something to the effect that it's tragic that I don't share these thoughts with the rest of the world. And um, I've also made friends with the past couple of years, past year, I guess, I made friends with um, somebody's daughter who lives in another state, but her father has been a longtime friend of mine, close friend of mine, since 1993 when I was in high school. He's much, much older. Um, I don't know how many years, but basically a generation apart almost. So if you hear that dinging, it's my phone dinging with messages, and I'm doing my best to avoid looking at them. All right, sorry about that. She said that this daughter of my close friend has said, and I'm trying not to sound full of myself, but she said that um, I the world doesn't deserve me. Um, I mean, that sounds very big, but I can understand in some sense. I can appreciate that I have a lot to offer, and I'm a good person, and life can be really cruel. I mean, other people can be really cruel, and it's been. I don't want to say. I don't want to start singing "It's a Hard Not Life," whatever. But I guess you also can point to your own life, points in your own life where things have been a struggle, and everybody, I suppose, has a struggle. And I feel my own struggle personally because I'm I know myself best, and I can't. You probably know what I mean. Like, I know everybody has their own struggle, and it's that subjectivity and objectivity. Um, I can't subjectively really know what somebody else is struggling through unless I know them very well. Anyway, I may be veering off topic. So, so I created this channel in order to express those ideas, and I created it rather recently. I think in the past year. I remember something like October or September. I guess that would make it 1 year, wouldn't it? Almost 1 year. And I imagined at first a very methodical way of creating a video on each topic of my lessons I've learned in life. But something something ran afoul, and basically it became haphazard, and I shifted focus of that. Well, frankly, in some sense, it was a lot of effort to create a long-term video, and I wasn't getting that many views. Um, and I'll be honest, I'm still not getting that many views. Uh, I've I've looked to other video channels that talk about things like I'm talking about, and I've read some criticisms. For example, don't say "ah" too many times. Stay focused, and that's good. That jives with my experience in Toastmasters. It's very difficult talking to a screen, but anyway, all right. Anyway, I've seen other channels like Boogie2988, and I won't get into all the drama about his personal life or whatever, but the content he produces, the format that he makes, is something like mine. In other words, talking directly to each person, sharing his own life, sharing points in his own life where he's struggled and he's grown and he's learned. And I also think of another channel, Rainy. I think her name is Rainy Ray Lynn. She just puts a small camera. She's usually driving, and she'll put a camera up on her windshield, and she'll talk. And I want to create content like that. I want to create Star Wars, basically. No, no, no. I want to create content like that where I'm talking directly to you and sharing my own self. Um, I want to convey what I'm like as a person if you actually met me. Here I'm still looking at the side view where the little portion of my preview is still visible. Anyway, all right, so there's that. So I want to deprivatize my videos because I don't want to fall into the habit of creating these videos and then privatizing them. It's that struggle to share myself with the world and at the same time progress myself, like get a job. And I mean, I have two part-time jobs, but get like a better job, advance in life. But what if they look at my videos and my social media, and that creates a detriment for me? I I believe I privatized all my Facebook, and I only use Facebook and I use YouTube And I do have an Instagram site, but I don't really use it that often. I barely use it. So it's basically YouTube and Facebook. And there's been quite a bit of drama on Facebook, and I've heard about a lot of trauma, drama that induces trauma. Um, I remember some months back, I tried to post a video, make a post on my Facebook wall, not mentioning any names, but I was um, in a moment of impulse, I was so mad at this other person that I mentioned that person's name, and I'm still, I think I'm still justified because this other person um, had no respect for me, no caring, in fact, lied to me and led me on about something, and then I guess led me on. I guess that's why I included somebody else's name again impulsively in the same post. Um, and well, the person basically stole from me, um, and I was trusting, and I was so sick one Friday. It'd been going on for about a week, and I basically said enough with it, and I posted his name, and then I suppose, and for some reason I included this other person, um, somebody I care about, and I hope we could be friends. I won't say anything more than that. I'll just say that talking now, I realized leading me on, and I, in the past, it seems that this other person had led me on, and for some reason, I thought of this other person. I was so impulsively, I was so frustrated with this other person that I wanted to, um, I wanted to let out and tell everybody how much I had been hurt by both these people. Um, I won't go any further. Probably cause me further trouble, but and drama. I wish people on Facebook would get a life. I mean, um, I wish people that are pulled towards drama um, wouldn't react like that. But anyway, so I think that screwed up friendship possibility um, with the second person I mentioned. So it led me to talk. All right, I'll keep this brief and vague, but it led me to honestly um, talk with a childhood friend, and the childhood friend recommended some alternative explanation for the second person's um, reactions and the past history between us. And so I posted something on my wall with the hope that, and didn't mention anybody's name, with the hope that if this person did see the post, that the person um, wasn't obligated to out, out self. And I was saying, I meant it as a reassuring thing that, okay, you don't have to explain anything. If I'm right about this, it's okay and I understand. But it didn't happen that way, and I'll keep vague. Um, it didn't happen that way, and it basically blew up. And then I do want to say one thing that, as you can imagine, there are a whole bunch of post replies and comments. One of which stuck in my mind. The person, not the person I'm talking about, I mean somebody else, um, posted that I just was using this other suggestion as vindication for what I originally believed. That's not the case at all. It's exactly the opposite, and I'm keeping it vague, but I want to say that I was truly open-minded and I was looking for some kind of explanation to resolve this and to understand it and put it to rest and put it behind me. Um, the more, the clearer it is in terms of what was truly going on, the easier it is for me to put it aside and put it behind me. I guess I'm one of those people that for which lingering thoughts about something unresolved pop up periodically, and it's still going on with the second person I mentioned. Um, but I wish I could say that it was very much the opposite. I wasn't looking for vindication. I was just elated and happy that there was this other possible reason to explain it, and not only that, but it um, okay, I won't even go into that. It just made me happier in looking at this person in a better light. Um, but I guess that's not the case. What this other person should, suggested wasn't wasn't the case, I guess. So since then, I've pieced together maybe with some people's explanations. I've pieced together, I guess, what was probably going on way, 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 way back. And the past is the past. You can't change it. I think, given the circumstances, I think I was okay in what I did. I mean, how I behaved, and um, I don't see people in general. I don't see people as all good and or all bad. Um, Circumstances happen in our lives that motivate us in certain ways, and we're working on. We're not all omniscient, and we're working on what we the best that we can in terms of how we understand what's going on. And when you're not aware of certain things, when you're in the dark about certain things, you can only act on what you know. So I hope this other, and I don't want to use this to create a whole bunch of drama. I'm just expressing this, and I'm hopefully being vague enough. Um, I hope this other person has seen my videos and has figured some things out about how what my intentions were, and how I was acting based on what I knew, um, and frustrations and so forth. Okay, all right. So I got that out, and hopefully you're still watching. Um, but I hope you got something out of that yourself, like a life lesson. I want to shift topics, and I want to talk about um, the about my efforts to get a better job, and the scam. I think it was a scam. It was a clever scam that I came across this Wednesday. Um, Wednesday morning, sorry, Wednesday morning, I got an email, a rejection email for a good job at a great company I was hoping for. Um, it's not in my career field, but it would have paid a lot more than I'm earning now, and it's in I suspect a company that's more stable um, than what I'm working in now. That's one good benefit of privatizing all this stuff. I don't have to be that vague about what company I'm working for. So, again, I hope I don't come across as stiff. Okay, all right. The screensaver popped up, so maybe that's a good thing. I can just talk to the screensaver. So, anyway, um, that morning I felt low. And so in the afternoon, the late afternoon, I got this text message from somebody claiming to have seen my profile and wanting to do an interview. And I won't go into all this stuff, I mean, the details, but connected me with somebody else and rushed through a text interview with no video whatsoever. And I went through fortunately, I didn't answer personal questions. There weren't really personal questions aside from my contact information and what bank I used. But then I supposedly got hired, and at the end of the texting, and then there was a wait period, and then uh, go back to this place that I was interacting with the person on the next morning at 9, and then nothing. And then finally, I realized this has got to be a scam. There's something the person mentioned. Oh, there was a screw up with FedEx delivery and of my work materials, and it's probably a scam. So Meanwhile, I I I was under the impression that they were going to deliver equipment. So I cleaned up my room, I cleaned up the kitchen, I cleaned up the bathroom, and that's something positive. And as a life lesson, I want to share that with you, that you look on the bright side. I'm somebody who thinks as of the cup as half full. I'm optimistic, and I think of the bright side of things, the silver lining, so to speak. And so I cleaned up my room, I cleaned up my bathroom and kitchen, which is something I wanted to do anyway. And then when I realized that this is probably a scam, I thought, okay, I didn't give away that much personal information. Um, what they did learn was something that could have probably be learnt through some diligent research anyway on me. And I used that motivation to contact a temp agency, going back to temp agencies. But this one is a temp to hire, and they only deal with office jobs, and it seems like something I can trust more rather than simply go through these other quote temp agencies. I'm suspicious of temp agent. I'd been feeling suspicious about a lot of stuff right after that. People can take advantage of you awfully quickly, but I think of myself as a survivor, and one means of surviving is to not dwell on how you were taken advantage of. I simply switched into the mode of being tactical, and figuring out how to climb back out again. What resources do I have? So that's my life lesson. That's my life lesson at this point. And I might as well mention that I do have a draft of my memoir. I want to go back and actually flesh it out and actually complete it as an actual book. But I was feeling rushed to get it out um, in case I were to venture off and not, well, um, in case I want to rush that out. And I also start a spin-off thing you can get on Amazon Kindle. Just go to Amazon, look up my name. Um, it's introspection with it's Geoffrey Linehan, Geoffreylinehan. Look my name up there, and you should be able to find it. Find both of them, the memoir and this list of uh, observations and guidelines for healthy life. I have about 30 something life lessons there, simply listed. Um, Maybe I'll go and create an updated version where I talk about them. Um, but I guess that dovetails to something else I wanted to talk about. Just yesterday, I was talking with this close friend I'd known since 1993. He's the one with the daughter. I was talking with him yesterday, and he mentioned that he had called, and he initially called with a possible idea he had for me in terms of my background, my degree. I have two bachelor's degrees from university, television, radio, film, and political science. I promoted myself in terms of Kindle, and I'll promote myself now in terms of my resumes. I have both those degrees. I haven't been able to really utilize them. Simply the fact that I have two degrees, dual degrees from a university has been what's gotten me through life. Not what they were degrees in, not what fields they were in, but simply that I have college degrees. So he was talking about an idea of taking my background in editing and screenwriting, creating films and creating videos, and suggesting to a company in particular, that same company that I hope to be able to get the job with, that I could create maybe a promo video for them. That seemed like an interesting idea. I don't know how to go about it exactly, but anyway, that's what he called about. And we talked about other things. Our conversations tend to venture here and there and around. He has a habit of talking quite a bit, and he was talking about something himself that's been on his mind, obviously, and I'll leave it at that. He shared it with me, and I'm glad that he shared it with me. So I'm getting better at being discreet. So we talked, and that was the end of the phone call. He also mentioned that that this other person that we have, see, all of us, I'm not a Mensa member, but my two parents were, and my uncle was. We have gotten together sometimes, Mensa members, at a diner or a restaurant or cafe, and I enjoy talking with them because I don't have to dumb myself down. They're more understanding. They're more aware of the world, and that's really comforting. To be able to have a group of friends like that. I'm thinking of Stand By Me, the movie Stand By Me. It's a very good movie. It's about people who are kids who have been friends in elementary school, and they're confronting junior high, where they'll be split up and they won't see each other as often. It's about, seeing the future in some sense. That's what they're primarily concerned about. It's actually based on a Stephen King story called The Body. And I don't know how many people actually realize that Stand By Me was based on a Stephen King story. But they're in search of this dead body of a a kid about their own age, and it's very much a coming of age story. So anyway, back to this group of people that hang out together. I can too when my schedule permits it. Uh, he said that one of them, who's a story writer, short story writer, has written several stories since we last got together, and that was maybe well, just a matter of a week ago, something like that. Yeah, exactly. It was, I think it was a Sunday, last Sunday. So it slightly bothers me because I wanted to. I'm inherently a writer. All right. When I was in elementary school, I I imagined myself as being more progressive than other kids in terms of my own planning for my own future. I saw myself moving to Los Angeles. I saw myself writing these stories now. You know, I would take Transformers characters and I'd write stories, and I was just getting into Star Trek in 5th grade when I was just getting into when I was in 5th grade. I was just getting into Star Trek, and I wrote some stories um, that a neighborhood kid and I got together into a group, and we came up with this ongoing storyline. And so I created stories that would fit that storyline myself. And I wrote a Star Trek Next Generation short script called Dead Space Scrolls, and I wrote for my close friend's birthday when I was in middle school. When I was in 7th grade, this is crazy. Um, I was nearing the time of my bar mitzvah. Well, no, no, my bar mitzvah. No, no, no. Okay. I was nearing finals for 7th grade, and I was really prolific. I wrote a short Transformers play that I could present him with at the birthday party, and we could act out. I used Transformers characters that we had toys of. We could, you know, to get collectively, we both had toys of, so we could act it out during the birthday party. And at the same time, I was writing a Transformers novella. It was about 60 pages. I still have it. My mom saved all these different stories I've written, all the drawings and so forth. And at the same time, I was also studying for my bar mitzvah. So it was quite a busy time, but suddenly, for some reason, have you had this experience too when you were younger? You seemed to have more time on your hands. Somehow had more time to do all these different things in such a short period of time. Um, I remember in 8th grade, I wrote another Transformers novella. Although I also sort of remember it as I was writing one novella, and then I had an inspiration for another novella that I began while writing the first one while studying for my bar mitzvah. But you know, my spiel, I gave it already. So, and that was towards the end of 7th grade, and meanwhile I was going to school and so forth. So you can imagine how much focus I had on school life as opposed to home life. You know, my creative side. I was much more involved in my creative side, and so I I went on through high school. I was writing, and I've talked about these in earlier videos. I was writing scripts for television series that I enjoyed, and so I saw myself as moving to Los Angeles. I saw the other kids in school as going through what would now be considered probably social media drama, although we didn't have social media at the time. It just seemed like a waste of time to me, and they seemed so immature. Um, from some things that I've seen, they still a number of them still seem immature. They seem to act immaturely. Um, and I think of myself as pretty grown up. You know, I thought about this, obviously. I've heard of other people reflecting on their past and saying, "Oh, I was immature at the time," and or we were just kids at the time. I didn't know any better. I've thought of, I've been reflective, and when I think back, I don't think I was that immature. I was certainly less aware and less brave and less proactive in a lot of cases. There were times when I was picked on and I was teased and I'll say bullied, and didn't fight back, didn't talk back to them. But I wouldn't consider my that to be immature. I wouldn't consider myself to be immature. I consider that to be like um, uh, less strong, if you can understand that, just less strong. So I'm more strong now. I've had to be, but I haven't significantly changed who I am. Maybe those of you who know would agree. I'm curious if if you do agree or not. So anyway, I haven't changed my views on a lot of things. I don't see myself as having, well, all right, I've said that. So um so back to this other person in our Mensa group. Uh my friend said that he's already written several short stories since we last got together last week. um it uh the word incensed comes to mind. I don't think that's quite the right word. It made me feel awkward, or irked me. I guess irked me, him saying that, because when reality hit after college, really after college, it had already hit after high school, but somewhat, but really hit after college. And I couldn't move off to Los Angeles like I really wanted to. And I had to take whatever job locally I could, and they I felt that the job I could do best was an office type job, and where I'm living isn't exactly, Beanstalk, Iowa or something, or backwoods of nowhere. But job wise, I think I remember hearing from a number of people that, um, there are a lot of people struggling for jobs here. I'll just say that. Uh, so I had to take, and plus I didn't have a car. I haven't had a car until recently. So my high school reunion, my 30-year high school reunion is coming up next year, and I don't know if there will be one, but I've thought about going up to the on stage somewhere, wherever it's held, and proclaiming that I felt that none of you really took the time, none of you, a lot of you didn't really take the time to talk to me, to really understand me. And there was a huge social class barrier. And there was a time in senior year when I tried to break that social class barrier. And at the time, I felt really proud of myself. And I think in retrospect, again, the more you understand about what was really going on, the more comfortable you feel. It may have turned out wrong, it may have turned out badly, but at least you're you're more aware, more accurate in what was really going on. There's no misunderstanding. There's no under false belief. under false impression, you can actually understand what was really going on. At the time, I was proud of myself for having taken the bold step for one of the first times, frankly, in terms of school, the first time I had taken a bold step to cross over the social barrier. And I think, without getting into details, I think what happened was that at the other end, that the other person um, uh, was in conflict about, I won't go further, was in conflict. And I think I did the right thing in making an overture and trying to cross the social barrier. And I think I was, in some sense, going into it, even at the time, initiating it, I knew that it was an uphill climb, or there was little chance of the other person saying yes. But then when it seemed like the other person said yes, then I felt more comfortable and more proud of myself for having done it. And that's why it really hurt. And I don't know if those involved really understand how much it hurt. And, I've talked with two people very recently, the past, say, couple of months, handful of months, um, about this. And I'm, in some sense, I guess I'm purposely blank. My mind is purposely blanking out. I can't really remember the details, and I don't want to give out personal details. Um, but anyway, I was clued in on a little bit, and it's like pulling teeth. It's like over the span of a long period of time, you learn, oh, that's what happened so long ago. Oh, that's whatever. You gain more insight, and um, I'm working with a therapist now, and I mentioned that, and um, the more I know about what was going on, the more I can move forward without those lingering memories popping back up. I know forgive me, I'm moving around, but um, in some sense, that's the way the mind works, and things are interrelated. Um, so anyway, back to this person that is part of our Mensa group. I, I, I think of myself as a creative person. I want to go into screenplays, and I feel stunted in my life because I haven't. I I I did go to a finally go to a it's a I guess it's a theater slash bar downtown, and I made I made I came forward and introduced myself. That's it. I introduced myself to the owner, and he seems like a nice guy, and maybe there's some potential for writing a play or producing something. I want to be seen. I want my work to be seen. And that's what really disturbs me, maybe above anything else. I'm sure above anything else. What disturbs me, what my worry, what my night, I don't want to say nightmare because I don't think in terms of that. What my worst fear is, and I don't have many fears. What my worst fear is that I'll die without having had a family and without having shared my creativity with the world and been recognized. key thing about my personality and desire and so forth is recognition for my accomplishments and creativity and my unique insights on things. And that's why this person suggested, remember at the beginning of this video, I mentioned that one of the reasons I started this channel was an inspiration, what served as an inspiration. Somebody said that I had a lot of ideas and insights to share with the world, and it would be tragic if they weren't. I mean, I'll mention something about this latest therapy session that I went to, and it's primarily the therapy is to deal with these lingering thoughts and memories from this experience I talked about where I tried to cross social barriers. Um, I want to work through that, and I want to, for one thing, get it off my chest, and to talk with the therapist and try and reason through what probably happened objectively, because nobody else has really explained to me what happened, and I've had to get it through small nuggets and little, like, trying to figure things out. And every time, it seems every time I'm in the dark, I get kicked in the head, and I have good intentions. It's a misfire, and then I get somebody yelling at me. So with the therapist, I guess it's private, and again, I'm being very vague, but I hope this gets resolved. But anyway, all right. All right. So this theater slash bar. So I went there and I introduced myself, and hopefully I can create material that can be shown, and my name can get out there and so forth. And I want to experience what it's like to be famous. You know, Madonna comes to mind, and Billy Joel, and I don't know, whoever, Lady Gaga, whoever. Although she's more recent. I mean, I grew up with Michael Jackson and so forth. So that time period, the 1980s primarily, and and Steven Spielberg and George Lucas. And I would feel like a nobody without having shared my creativity. And that's like an essence of my being, almost just as much as Star Trek is part of an essence of my being. I hope some of you will at least be open-minded to try checking out Star Trek. It's not for nerds. It's not just for geeky talk and nobody can understand it and cheesy, cheap special effects. And first of all, in the original 1960s series, the special effects weren't cheesy. The show was expensive to produce, and people have talked about how the network, NBC, had been trying to cut costs and been essentially complaining about how costly the show was to produce. And people, I think, now are looking at it like 50 or 60 years later and saying, oh, how cheesy special effects at the time. No, they weren't. But yeah, you should look beyond that. You should see the drama and the speculative look into the human condition that the show portrayed. I mean, there's one episode where Kirk gets split into two people. There's a passive and aggressive, and it explores both sides of them. In fact, in that episode, it had the aggressive aggressive side of him, trying to I don't want to get demonetized, although I'm not getting really any money from this anyway. He was trying to, he had his passive side was divorced from him and embodied in a separate body, literally. So he only had his aggressive side. This is their take on the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde scenario. Uh, he was, I'll say, forcing himself on a female crew member, and it was pretty daring at the time. And he was in a drunken state to begin with. And there are other episodes where um, somebody gains superpowers and becomes full of himself and declares himself like a god. And the captain has to, and this is somebody the captain has been friends with for 15 years and has to separate that side of him from the practical side of the safety of a ship and his crew. And he's faced with the challenge of deserting this person on a planet or killing him. Um, and you'll have to watch the episode to find out. And then there's another episode, Balance of Terror, that deals with this species that this show takes place in the future. This species that had been at war with Earth um, over a century earlier, and neither side had seen the other. And this alien species, okay, so this war earlier on was resolved simply by creating a neutral zone so that neither side crosses over. And so the command, the government of this other species wants to provoke a war because they're very militaristic, they're very warlike. They want to be glorified. They want to feel glorified by this war that they've provoked with Earth. And so they attack some outposts along the neutral zone, and Kirk leads the Enterprise. He's commanded by his own government to go in and stop the ship, to prevent a war. And he understands that the Enterprise and its crew are considered expendable, meaning they can be killed in an effort to prevent a war. Above all else, don't cause a war with this alien species. And so there's prejudice. There's a side plot where you remember, neither side has seen what the other actually looks like. And see, Spock. You probably know about Kirk and Spock. Spock is an alien serving in the crew, and this other species that I've been talking about was an offshoot. So they look similar. So when Spock makes Spock is able to get a look into their ship. He's able to hack into their computer system and see the insides of the alternate, the alien ship. One of the crew members, who's already heard speculation that there could be spies on the Enterprise, sees them and then looks at Spock and pegs him as a spy, and he becomes very bigoted. And so Kirk does the noble thing and says at one point, there's no, leave your bigotry in your quarters. There's no room for it on the bridge, meaning the control room of the starship, the command center of the starship. Leave your bigotry in your quarters. There's no room for it on the bridge. And very good episode. So meanwhile, you're already acquainted with the way regular cast members, the crew, the regular cast operates on the Enterprise, but you also see scenes on the alien ship, and you see the commander of the alien ship feeling forced to provoke this war, and he's war weary. You can tell he's already fought so much. He's tired. He's sick and tired of having fought war after battle, so forth. He's probably already ready to retire. And so he has a centurion. He has a, I don't remember what they call it. He has a, like a second in command. He has like somebody else that he talks with usually, and the other person brings up arguments. Well, you've got your duty. You need to uphold your command, your obligations of your command to do what the government tells you to do, and the government is telling you to start this war and to prevail. And so he's caught between essentially giving up, and he almost wants peace. I mean, he's tired of it, and he sees through it. He doesn't see the reason to provoke a new war, to fight for a glorious empire. Um, and so at the end, there's a touching moment. I won't give the ending details, but there's a touching moment when the two of them are seeing each other through the view screen. It's like basically a video conference, and he says, "You and I," meaning you, Kirk, and I are of a kind in a different reality. I could have called you friend, meaning if things were different, we could have met as friends. But your government, my government wants this war, and your government sees us as the enemy, and and that's it. And so that's another touching episode. I'm trying to convey that Star Trek talks about stuff like that and explores the human condition. So hopefully, maybe you'll check it out. I wrote something else in here. The only remaining thing I wrote in here was, I wrote down girlfriend, meaning that it's something I talked with the therapist about, um, and all I have to say really is I feel stuck in life, and I that's why I'm trying to get a job. It's like running in place. It's like you're on a treadmill running in place. And all right, I grew up with, these are things I've talked about before in my earlier videos, but they're privatized, so maybe this makes up for it. Um, I grew up with Leave It to Beaver, Dennis the Menace. You can't do that on television. And adult sitcoms like Benson and Webster and Facts of Life and so forth. And so I imagine the normal course of my life would follow that. It's normal. You'd date at some point, and then you'd find somebody you'd like to marry, and you'd marry, and then you buy a new home, and you at some point later on you raise a child when you're ready, and that's what I saw as normal life, and that's, I think, still what I consider a normal healthy life. Normal just means it's average. It's like whatever. I shouldn't say normal. I should say healthy. There is a difference, I see. The norm simply means that you don't deviate from what everybody else is doing. But this is my point. I guess for a lot of people, that's not the norm. For a lot of people, the normal, is that you become divorced, that you have an unhappy relationship or unhappy marriage, and so forth. I'll I'll call my vision of, getting married and moving into a new house and so forth. I'll call that not normal. I'll call that healthy life. So a huge problem I've had is one of geography, but really, um, what precedes the geography problem is that I'm looking for someone Jewish, and believe me, I spent like 30 years looking. I started off because of a heartbreak. Well, before the heartbreak, um, it felt like there was a vacuum, and I felt like I wasn't getting reciprocated. I mean, my good gestures and creativity and outward, what I was sharing with somebody wasn't being reciprocated. So I reached out to other people who were in my class or other past acquaintances, and those were nice, but they were fleeting. And so I suppose when I went online for dating, I think I went online and oh no, I tried. Here's some history about my dating or lack thereof. Um, my efforts at dating. Um, I remember a company called Lunch Appeals. I still have the card somewhere. It was a local. It was a company. It was a matchmaking. It was a dating service. And come to think of it, I remember trying out an ad. I think there was a phone thing where you can record your ad, and then I don't remember the details. It'd be interesting actually. I remember recording my ad, and it would be like something you'd see in the newspaper. Oh yes, 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 yes. At the time, there were personal ads in our regular newspaper, and I recorded my intro so that when you called that number, it would without revealing your home phone number, it would connect to this person's greeting, and there was mine, and I did get somebody who responded, but she was much, much older, and so that didn't go anywhere, and um, I went online. I don't think she was Jewish at the time, and then I went online and I thought more seriously about Judaism. See, at that point, I considered myself proudly Jewish, but I wasn't thinking in terms of exclusively having a girlfriend that's Jewish. Um, so when I went online, somewhere at that point, I was looking at dating sites, and I didn't want to waste somebody else's time, and I wanted to date long term. I hopefully I would find somebody that would become a long in a long term relationship with me. So that's when I started dating exclusive. Like I started putting in, that I'm looking for someone Jewish, and I'll say just roughly like 5 years into it, it was all these different dating sites like Perfect Match and who knows, OkCupid and whatever. It was always Jewish, Jewish, Jewish within my local area, and nobody would pop up, and it would typically be Bronx. The hits would be typically Bronx, Queens, Islip, Long Island, but you get the picture. Manhattan, but whatever. It was New York, New York, New York, New York, and um, that jives with the fact that I guess the majority of Jews are in New York and Los Angeles, and I don't, I can't really find many beyond that, and it embarrasses me that I haven't found somebody. I haven't had those dating experiences. I was talking with the daughter of my close friend about this recently, and she said that not everybody has. I can't remember what she said, and I guess I shouldn't repeat it, but that not every marriage is happy, and a relationship is happy, and so forth. Well, I still feel that I've been missing out on all these experiences because I think um, without trying to sound egotistical, and I hope I'm not being egotistical. Um, I think I have a lot to offer, and I think I'm more decent, and decent isn't just the right word. Um, I have a. It's just like sharing my insights with the world, and it would be tragic if I couldn't do that. The same way here, it's I think I'm unique or rare. I'll say rare. Unique means you're the only person. I think I have rare instincts to open up very easily and be a warm friend to somebody. And so it's ironic that I haven't been able to have somebody who's just for me. In other words, a girlfriend who's just for me, who isn't the girlfriend of somebody else, who isn't married to somebody else, who isn't somebody where I have to remember that they have their own lives and I'm just like an extra wheel, like an extra bystander. So I've never had that, and I hope sometime that I will. I'm getting up there in age. I try to look young and I try to stay healthy. Um, so anyway, I guess that's towards the end of this video. I don't think I have anything else really to talk about, but I'll I guess I'll end it here and I'll talk with you next time. Thanks. All right. So long.